Hi, Elaine here. After the most recent presidential election, I was feeling disheartened with politics at a national level. In an attempt to keep sane, I began reaching into my backyard to talk with people who were not elected into office about how they were working to safekeep our communities. I wanted to talk about politics from the people. Now, with We Have Action, an indivisible group based in Arlington, Virginia, I'm bringing those conversations to you. Last week, I spoke with Charlie Meng, Chief Executive Officer at the Arlington Food Assistance Center. This is From the People. So, Charlie, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, before we kind of dive into it, I just wanted to ask how you got involved with the Arlington Food Assistance.
Well, long ago I was sort of searching for something else to do with my life. And I was doing a lot of construction work. And while I was doing that, I decided, well, I needed to do something worthwhile. So I started volunteering in the kitchen over at Food and Friends in the District of Columbia. And after about 9 years of doing that, I saw a job posting here at the Arlington Food Assistance Center, and I put my name in for it and got that job, about 18 years ago.
Can I ask what that job was?
Yeah, it was Director of Operations, as a matter of fact. AFAC was right on the point of moving from an all volunteer organization to having its first employees, and I was its first Director of Operations under an executive director at the time who, about 2 years later moved on, and our board of directors appointed me as executive director.
So I just wanted to question what you said about you wanted to do something with purpose.
Yeah.
Were you not finding that construction work purposeful?
Well, actually, I actually started in higher education long ago. When I first got out of college, I started working at the City University of New York in the central office under the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, an individual who very shortly thereafter was made president at Georgetown University.
Wow.
And that's what really brought me down. He had asked me to come down as his chief of staff assistant, a position that I served in for about 7 years. And then I became vice president for administration at Georgetown.
Okay.
And so, and after I spent about 14 years at Georgetown. After that, I went on to the Kennedy Center, where I was vice president there also, and some other things. And all of that are very large organizations, very large nonprofit organizations.
Yes.
And when you're way up at the top of one of those kind of organizations, you are extremely distant from
Mm,
what the organization actually does.
yeah.
You're up in some big office in a building, and in some sort of shrine almost, and you're very distant. And in a certain sense, I was following in my father's footsteps. He was a college president several times over, and that's where I grew up. So in a lot of ways, I was following in my father's footsteps, and I sort of found out and came to the realization that they were not my footsteps.
Yeah.
So I had to find a new direction, and that's why I was doing a whole bunch of small little projects and consulting activities, and a lot of construction, remodeling of kitchens and bathrooms, mainly.
And
And
can I just ask, this is a little bit of a tangent, but was the appeal of that kind of working with your hands or just something different?
well, I do a lot of different things. I like to learn a lot of different things, and I've always been handy with my hands. And in a certain way, at Georgetown in the president's office, was the person who sort of fixed things. And that's really what my skill is taking chaotic situations and bringing order and direction to it. And in a sort of in a strange way, that's what kitchen renovations is. It's bringing some order and fixing things. And fixing things aren't isn't really very far from helping people, you know?
Yeah, so I'll circle back now to that first job you had at AFAC. So you applied for the job as the director of operations
Yeah. Um,
and worked your way up from there?
well, I only moved really one position. I don't I didn't work my way up. When I got here at AFAC, it had been an all volunteer organization. So there were many volunteers who were doing office functions,
Mm,
but there wasn't a lot of oversight of those office functions, nor were there much of any structure. For instance, we really didn't have a financial system.
mm,
We didn't have any personnel policies and procedures. We didn't have any benefits. We were really paying basic minimum wage to our folks. And that all of that needed to be improved and worked on. And at the same time, our the numbers of families that were coming to us was increasing. So, there were increasing demands on the organization. The organization wasn't really at the time prepared to meet those challenges. And systems is one of the things that I do very well. And so, what I've done here is, improve the systems. I've also had to focus on a lot of fundraising because, we don't get any federal funds, we get no state funds, and we only get now about $1 million from Arlington County, which amounts to 10% of what it costs to run AFAC. So now, so one of the real important items at AFAC is raising money.
right.
That's the lifeblood that we need to operate this organization. And over those years, we've grown from about 700 families to the 4,202 families we served last week.
Wow. Could you tell me a little bit about how you operate? You kind of were talking about big picture, bringing the money, who you serve, but just like on a day-to-day basis, what does that look like?
I operate on basic common sense. Okay. And, everything around here is simple. Okay. That's the way we keep it. Everything is simple. Everything is organized. My day is really just checking in with folks, making sure everything is going well. What's the future all about? And it's a lot of the higher kinds of things, dealing with my board of directors, the larger donors, the major donors to the organization, and then dealing with whatever happens to be coming up, like SNAP.
Yeah.
SNAP is now postponed, I guess we would call it. May come back in the next few days. We're not sure. But in
I,
the
and
meantime,
and so to be clear, you are not administering SNAP, but you are dealing with the fallout of people potentially losing SNAP benefits and are looking for additional ways at getting food.
yeah, absolutely. Almost all of the families we serve here are under 30% AMI for Arlington County, average median income. That puts them in the poverty level. We actually have right now about 7,100 families referred to AFAC. As I said earlier, 4,200 are coming to us right now. That leaves a difference of about 3,000. And you have to understand, we're serving the lowest income folks in Arlington County. There is only one economic group below us, below our clientele, and that's the homeless. But once you get housed and have a kitchen, we provide groceries. Then if you have a referral to us, you can come to us once a week for 6 months. That referral can be renewed as long as a social worker believes the family will benefit from our services. In reality, we serve three populations. We serve the elderly, Their situation is not going to change until they leave Arlington County. The disabled, their situation will not change either. They're on Social Security disability payments mostly, and they'll be with us until again they leave the county. The third group and the largest group are the working poor. And those are made up of individuals who have very little to work with to folks that have maybe enough. So some of those individuals will and those families will come to us every single week. Others, when they have some money in their pockets, will go to their own grocery store.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, nobody wants to go to a food pantry to get their food, even a good one like us. Okay? If you have some money in the pocket, you want to go to your own grocery store and buy what you like and what your kids will eat. So, at the top of our range, it's kind of like self-selection. They may have a referral to us. They may have some money in their pocket today and they won't come to us. But next week, when it's raining out and dad's construction site is not working that day and he's not getting paid that day, all of a
Right.
sudden it changes the situation and a family will come back to us.
So you said that that is the largest group that you serve. About
Yes.
what percentage of the people?
It's probably close to 60%.
Wow.
It is a very large population, and it's people who are trying to make it work here in Arlington County.
Right.
And unfortunately, they can't, and they need us.
And is it mostly families or mostly single person
Well,
households or
we use the term families, which is equivalent to households, which is what USDA uses, and all of that. So a household can be anything from one individual up to, I think we have one family that has seven kids.
got it.
And, by the way, the larger families will get more food
Right.
accordingly. And that's the other difference. There are several differences between us and most food pantries in the United States. Most food pantries provide food on a monthly basis and oftentimes limited number of times per year. And that's really emergency food insecurity. That's emergency need. What we're focusing on here is long term food insecurity. Basically, if you don't have food today, you're probably not going to have food tomorrow,
Right.
maybe not next week, and probably not next month. So, this is a long-term issue we're trying to address here in Arlington, which is very different. The other side of our activities is that we work on a choice model. We don't pre-package boxes or bags and say, "Here, this is what we got. You take it." We let our families pick and choose the foods that they like and they know their families will eat. There's a lot less waste that way. If
Mm,
you're just given a box, you don't know
right.
what's in it. Somebody else has picked that for you. They don't know what you eat, what you like. So you may very well just throw the stuff out or some portion of it. But this way, our families pick and choose the foods that they like. And that's part of the dignity that we try to stress here at AFAC. The other thing that is a little different is that we have a food purchase budget. We will purchase something over $3 million worth of food this year and distribute about 6 million pounds in total. That food, those purchases are focused on the high cost items in a grocery basket that are essential to a healthy and nutritious diet. Unfortunately, those high cost items, though, are fruit and vegetables, eggs, milk, proteins, fish, chicken, eggs, chicken, fish, hot dogs, ground beef, those kinds of things.
Easily perishable.
Right. Yeah. And so those are and by the way, we also purchase from wholesale suppliers at discount prices. When your grocery bill is for 4,000 people, you can get some pretty good deals on a week.
So I just wanted to focus on that word dignity because you stressed it before we started recording, and then you brought it up again, and it seems like in some ways you think that focus on dignity differentiates what you guys do from other food banks, and I was wondering if you could go into that a little bit.
Well, I don't necessarily think that providing dignity to our families is any different than what other food pantries do. You know, the fact that we work on a choice model, the fact that we are focused on a long-term food insecurity. And then then dignity comes down to, you know, providing a safe environment here. And in days of now that we're concerned about ice, that's an issue for us. We have
Yeah.
to make sure our families are safe here and feel safe here.
Yeah.
Allowing families to pick and choose food rather than just giving it to them and saying, "Here, take this, go, leave," is providing dignity. The smile on a volunteer's face as they hand food to one of our family, how that interaction takes place, is a statement of dignity. And I think our volunteers really feel that. It's important. It's an important aspect of how we want to present AFAC to our families. And remember, our families are the lowest income folks in the county, but that doesn't make them any different than you or I or the volunteers handing the food out. And that's one of the things we stress here is everyone is equal.
Absolutely.
So it's done in many little subtle ways, but it's important for both our families and for AFAC itself as an organization.
Yeah.
This is an organization that cares deeply about our clients.
Can I ask if that theme of dignity is related to that theme of purposefulness that we were talking about before?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You know, I stress quality service, excellence in everything that we do. I can the monies at AFAC are accounted down to the cent. Everything here is done properly. And, you know, when you look at how you do things, dignity is part of that, how you treat other people. And that means they'll come back to you. They'll find food here that they can use. All of our chicken is halal chicken. It costs a few cents more per pound. By the way, those cents add up if you're going to buy. If you're buying 8,000 pounds a week, it does add up. And I think we're buying like 75,000 pounds
Wow.
of chicken shortly. So, you know, those are the little things that, you know, that's a decision. You know, that those few cents will probably add up to about 20 or $30,000 over
Right.
a year. Okay. Is that a worthwhile expense? Yes, it is the answer.
Do you think that extending that dignity is what gives you that feeling of purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. I see the families right outside my window every morning, and I know that they're picking up food that's important to them, and we're helping, and that's
Yeah.
purpose, right? And how do you do that? How do you purposefully do something right and human and
Mm.
caring with empathy? You provide dignity. You provide the same thing you want yourself from everybody else. Simple dignity.
Such a profound and yet seemingly simple thing to offer.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's sort of like an old-fashioned way of doing business, isn't it? Where we actually care,
Imagine that.
and that goes through this whole organization. Because the other thing we've been able to do is assure that none of our staff will ever need our
Mm.
services. Our minimum wage here at AFAC is $25 an hour. We have health
Yep.
benefits, very generous health benefits. And I think that's the other part of running an organization, is sharing, the wealth, if you will, and making sure that you treat your own staff well, so they will treat our families well, our volunteers well. It's everybody. It's a holistic approach to things, and I get great performance out of the staff here at AFAC. They're fantastic. They do an amazing job for me and for our families. So that's the other part. It can't be, okay, one side gets it and the other side doesn't.
Yeah. So if people are interested in getting involved, is there any way they can get involved?
We were started as an all volunteer organization, and we continue to
Mm,
have a culture of volunteerism. In fact, I've always considered our second mission encouraging volunteerism in the community. And so, if you want to volunteer, our website is www.afacafac.org, and there are three buttons up at the top. One is for volunteers, one is for making a food donation or running a food drive for us. Things that we desperately need is the variety that food drives offer. And then the third way is obviously making a financial donation. And with a financial donation, we can actually buy probably 3 to 4 times as much food as you can because we're working on a wholesale basis. And that's what supports those three legs are what supports AFAC and its mission.
that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, please subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts to get our upcoming releases. A reminder that early voting has started in Virginia. You can find information to make sure your vote is counted in the episode description. If you would like to join We of Action, you can go to their website at www.wofava.org or follow them on their various social media links, which are also included in the show notes. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Elaine from Related. See you next time.